I'd be lying to you if I didn't say I'm very shocked to be making this video about Tottenham making a move for a Real Madrid superstar. But this is what the transfer window does. It throws up many surprises, and we're going to be delving into that alongside some other big Tottenham transfer news. It's going to be a very interesting video. But before I begin, if you are a Tottenham fan, please hit the subscribe button. I need more of you definitely following. I want to build up this Spurs community, and hit the like as well. Be greatly appreciated. But let us just get straight into it. And it was a report from Darius, I think that it is, Spanish journalist, Spanish paper. It said Tottenham have entered the race for Real Madrid's Rodrygo. Daniel Levy will try to lower the price of the Brazilian below 90 million euros due to the good relations between the club. And there genuinely is very good relations between Real Madrid and Tottenham Hotspur, obviously dating back all the way to the Bale deal, to the Van der Vaart deals. There's a lot of deals in which Tottenham and, of course, Real Madrid have done together. And a lot of fan bases were laughing at this, Tottenham making a move for Rodrygo, but I don't think it's outside the realms of possibility. You know, I'm an Arsenal fan. I'd absolutely love Rodrygo at my club, and I also made a video earlier about Liverpool being in for Rodrygo and a player of his quality. But Tottenham could genuinely be in a race like this. And when I think of the possibility, and Spurs fans, you start to have these weird sort of dreams of how you could look with a Rodrygo, but it just elevates you. Thinking about that left side, I know Tell was signed and he's genuinely a top talent. I think he can become a very good centre forward, rotating with Rodrygo. But when you look at this, Spurs fans, do you not feel kind of unstoppable? A Sarr and Bergvall midfield too, and this is the 4-1-4-1, which, you know, Thomas Frank did against Reading early in pre-season. I know it's only the first game, but that's the first formation we have. A Rodrygo, Bergvall, Sarr, Kudus midfield four, with Maddison just ahead of it, and Solanke spearheading the attack, with Teo obviously able to do it as well. Richarlison's in there. I mean, that's good, no? That is genuinely very good. And you think about the quality of the Premier League and where it's going. I'm not saying Rodrygo is going to 100% happen. I mean, these videos are made to just sort of tell you what's being said in the media and sources from Spain. This is genuinely one of the best attacks in the Premier League. It takes Tottenham from, I think, just outside the top six in terms of best attack to inside that top five. This is the player we're dealing with, Rodrygo. I genuinely believe he's a very top talent. I feel like he's a player who can rotate with players like Maddison, getting those central spaces, be in the false nine zones and be quality as well. It's just thinking about it. It would be dangerous. And you think about Kudus on the right-hand side, who's a phenomenal player. Kudus is a phenomenal player without a shadow of a doubt. He is got so much qualities in which I think, okay, this guy can be a proper winger, somebody who can go on the outside and the inside. We all saw it against Reading, how good Kudus was, and on the ball and off the ball as well. He is a proper dynamic player in the attacking third, somebody who Thomas Frank is absolutely going to love. And when we're talking about Rodrygo, I think the funny thing is he works hard out of possession. He works hard. So coming to Tottenham, where Thomas Frank wants every single player to sort of work hard out of possession, Rodrygo wouldn't be sort of a player who's not going to do that. And I'm almost smiling thinking about Tottenham's elevation with the Rodrygo. And I know it's just not the best of sources, but definitely something that we can talk about in terms of Spurs going forward. Looking for that profile on the left, Gibbs White was talked about as well. We'll talk about other players. Garnacho, I know, is not the best quality. He still has a lot to offer, but Spurs are looking in the right way to get that 1v1 dynamic winger who's able to receive inside as well, but stretch opposition and be very effective in transition. And that's what a Rodrygo does. That's what a Garnacho does. Gibbs White as well is very good in transition, who could rotate with a Maddison. We need a conclusion with that because I think he's a phenomenal player. But the sky would be the limit with a signing like Rodrygo for Tottenham. But let's move on. Spurs' preference would be a loan move for João Palhinha rather than a permanent deal. Many sources have sort of broke that João Palhinha is a big option for Spurs going forward. They need a midfield breaker. Palhinha can be that sort of midfield breaker, very strong in terms of in those duels. And I see a lot of Spurs fans not happy, but I think he's exactly what you need in terms of a midfield profile, you know, a destroyer, somebody who can defend spaces. You know, we've seen Palhinha in the Premier League, and he's sort of been in a position where, you know, it's unfair for him being at Bayern Munich, whereby there's so much quality there. He's not in favour. There's already this sort of idea that Palhinha is not good on the ball. This guy was able to do it for a Marco Silva team in which is quite ball dominant. We've seen the way that Marco Silva does. He was a candidate for the Spurs job. Someone like Palhinha will do a good enough job if he has a Sarah Bergvall next to him, somebody with more quality as well on the ball, Madison. He will do the dirty work out of position. And ultimately, Spurs were too open last season. They didn't have a pure defensive midfielder. That's no disrespect to the Basumas and Bentancurs, but Palhinha gives that. And when we're looking at the FBref model, these stats are genuinely quite impressive. You know, even the pass completion, top 3% for that in terms of defensive midfielders. Aerial duels 1, brilliant. Tackles, brilliant, top 7% for that, 3.19 per 90. Blocks, again, top 21% in Europe. There's genuinely a lot of statistics in here which are very impressive. And weirdly enough, he's somebody that takes quite a lot of shots. You know, the top 15% for defensive midfielders taking shots. He wants to be able to be a guy who can pop the odd shot outside the box. Not saying he's always accurate, but you've got to have different solutions when you play these low and mid blocks. And Palhinha sort of does offer that, you know, in terms of his high shot volume taking for a defensive midfielder. And I'm sort of looking at it here. I hate to just look at greens and say this shows that Palhinha is good, but it does have some weight. Look, when he has played above 3,000 minutes, above 2,500 minutes, he's in the greens because he's a very good player. You know, he's ultimately a good player who can come in and do the job and put in a defensive masterclass. He's old, yes, I know he's above 28 years of age, but you need that stability, that assurance, and Palhinha is that, you know. And you're looking at Fulham there, 7.15, 7.03, playing above 3,000 minutes. He's not injury prone. You can count on him to be available. There's so many positives, genuinely, so many positives to a Palhinha coming in. Even if it was on a loan deal, even better. You know, you get the option if he doesn't perform to the standards and the levels that you want. You don't have to keep him. You can just let him go to buy and have an option to buy. There's so many good ways in which Tottenham Hotspur can make this deal work for them. And here it is. I feel like this would be quite the dream. I mean, who would have thought Tottenham Hotspur going into next season could have Rodrygo, Palhinha, Sarr, Kudus, Madison and Solanke with a sneaky Gibbs White in there, and Kulusevski can play as well central. Tell, Brennan Johnson. You know, these are players just even coming to mind now with the quality they have. Tottenham Hotspur can't be ignored. I know these deals, the likelihood of them happening are low, but being in the conversation in the first place shows leaps and bounds. You know, Real Madrid, not even Real Madrid, Tottenham Hotspur are able to put themselves in a Rodrygo conversation, and I'm not sitting here laughing. I'm able to properly make a video about it because they're in the Champions League. They've got a phenomenal manager in Thomas Frank, new model. They will be able to play extreme wages for Rodrygo, be the superstar, be the statement signing in the project. I feel like Daniel Levy is looking for that signing who is a statement. Rodrygo. Genuinely, Rodrygo can be that statement guy. Genuinely. And as we move on to a bit more extra news in terms of Garnacho being a player of Tottenham's interest, to get another runner profile, I think he wouldn't be the best fit in terms of quality. I think there's better left-wing options out there. But, you know, that is someone Spurs are considering. Loic Balde, as they look for another centre-half, is one they're considering. And, of course, Zabani and Gehi. But Tottenham fans, let me know your thoughts on the things discussed in this video. And until next time, peace.